The sun hung lazily over Meadowbrook Lane, a suburban haven where white picket fences and manicured lawns whispered promises of safety and predictability. It was the kind of Saturday morning that felt scripted for peace. Kids riding bikes, sprinklers humming, and the faint sizzle of burgers on backyard grills. But in one driveway, a storm was brewing that would shatter the calm and spark debates across screens everywhere. At 27, Willow Lane, Sarah Bennett poured herself a third cup of coffee, the aroma of roasted beans blending with the buttery scent of pancakes cooling on the counter. Her muscles ached from a week of errands and single-mom hustle, but she smiled as she glanced outside. Her 11-year-old son, Ethan, sat in his wheelchair, sketching furiously in a notebook. Born with spina bifida, Ethan's legs didn't work, but his mind was a galaxy of heroes and villains. Today, he was perfecting his latest creation, Starforge, a cyborg knight with plasma gauntlets and a shield that could split mountains. His pencil danced, oblivious to the world. Sarah stepped onto the porch, setting a lemonade beside him. Starforge getting an upgrade? She teased. Ethan grinned, not looking up. Yeah, Mom. Thinking laser boots now. 10 minutes till breakfast, kiddo, she said, ruffling his hair before heading back inside. In the kitchen, Jake Malone leaned against the counter, sipping black coffee. At 6 feet 3 inches with a jawline like forged steel and knuckles scarred from years in the cage, Jake was a retired MMA fighter who'd once headlined regional circuits. A shoulder injury had sidelined him, but his presence still commanded a room. He and Sarah went way back, sparring partners turned friends. After Sarah's husband died 2 years ago, Jake started dropping by, his quiet strength filling a void she hadn't named. They were laughing about old gym stories when something caught Sarah's eye outside. A black SUV crawled into the cul-de-sac, its tinted windows swallowing the sunlight. No plates. No markings. It didn't belong. Ethan was still sketching, adding sparks to Starforge's boots, when the vehicle stopped dead in front of their driveway. The engine cut off with a thud. 2 men stepped out, and the air shifted. Sarah's stomach nodded. Jake, look at this. He joined her at the window, his easy grin fading. The men wore black tactical pants and polos stamped with neighborhood compliance in bold white letters. No badges. No names. The taller one, wiry with a buzz cut and mirrored sunglasses, clutched a clipboard. The other, stocky and sweating, had a smirk that screamed trouble and a radio clipped to his belt, silent. They moved like they owned the street. You know them? Jake asked. Never seen him, Sarah muttered, already heading for the door. Outside, the tall one loomed over Ethan, eyeing the wheelchair like it was litter. Kid, you're blocking access, he barked, voice flat. Ethan froze, pencil hovering. Sarah charged down the steps. Excuse me? He's on our property. He's not blocking anything. We've had reports, the stocky one cut in, stepping closer. This chair's non-compliant with sidewalk regs. Fines $500 if it happens again. That's nonsense, Sarah snapped. No one's complained. Who are you? We're compliance, the tall one said, scribbling on his clipboard. You've been warned. Jake appeared on the porch, silent but radiating menace. The stocky man sneered at Ethan. Move it, kid. Then, without warning, the tall one kicked Ethan's wheelchair, hard enough to jolt him, not enough to tip it. The chair squeaked. Ethan gasped, his notebook tumbling to the pavement, pages splaying like wounded birds. Time stopped. Sarah's scream tore through the silence. What is wrong with you? She dropped beside Ethan, hands trembling as she checked him. The tall man didn't flinch, still scribbling. The stocky one laughed. Stay out of it, lady. Jake stepped off the porch. His face wasn't angry, it was lethal. Focused. The look of a man who'd ended fights before they started. You just kicked a kid, he said, voice low. Big mistake. The tall one smirked. Got a problem, tough guy? Jake's eyes locked on Ethan, who clutched his chair, breathing fast. Then back to the men. Yeah, a big one. The stocky man puffed his chest. Mind your business, Grandpa. He shoved at Jake, and regretted it instantly. Jake moved like lightning, sidestepping and catching the man's arm. With a twist, he sent him crashing face first into the driveway. Concrete met bone with a sickening crunch. The man howled, clutching a dislocated shoulder. The tall one lunged, clipboard forgotten. Jake didn't blink. His fist exploded forward, connecting with the man's jaw. A crack echoed. Sunglasses flew. The man crumpled, out cold before he hit the ground. Blood trickled from his lip, staining the pavement. Neighbors gasped. Phones appeared, recording. A woman across the street dropped her coffee mug. Ethan stared, wide-eyed, as Sarah pulled him close. "You okay, baby?" she whispered. He nodded, voice small. "Why'd they do that, Mom?" She had no answer. Only rage. "I'm calling the cops," she said, glaring at the groaning man. "No need," he spat, crawling. "We're enforcement." Jake loomed over him. "You're nothing." His voice was ice. "You're lucky I'm retired." Sirens wailed. The street buzzed as neighbors spilled out, some cheering, others whispering. Mr. Carter, a retired Marine, waved his phone. "Got it all on video." "They're done." Police cruisers screeched in. 2 officers stepped out, hands near holsters, taking in the scene. The plateless SUV, the fake uniforms, Ethan trembling, and Jake standing like a sentinel. "What happened?" one demanded. Sarah pointed. "They pretended to be HOA. Kick my son's chair." Jake stopped them. The groaning man raised his head. "He assaulted us." The officer ignored him, turning to Jake. "Name?" "Jake Malone." The younger cop blinked. "The fighter?" Jake said. "Long time ago." Neighbors offered footage. One video showed the kick clear as day. Another caught Jake's punch in slow-motion glory. The officers cuffed the men, identified as Carl Reed and Derek Holt, con artists with a history of scams. Their badges were laminated fakes. The SUV was impounded, stuffed with forged documents. Paramedics carted the men away. Holt cursed, cradling his arm. Reed was still unconscious. The older cop muttered to Jake, "Off the record, we've chased these guys for months. You just cracked their game wide open." Jake shrugged. "Just protecting family." Ethan picked up his notebook. Starforge's page was torn but intact, plasma gauntlets glowing. He looked at Jake. "You're like him," he whispered. Jake crouched, smiling. "You're the hero, kid." By evening, the story was everywhere. A neighbor's video hit X, captioned, "Fake HOA goons mess with disabled kid." Forgot who was watching. It racked up 4 million views overnight. Reddit threads exploded, debating Jake's punch. Was it justice or vigilantism? Twitter split down the middle. Half called him a hero, half cried assault. YouTube channels looped the footage with dramatic music, titles screaming, "MMA legend obliterates thugs." News outlets dug deeper. Reed and Holt had extorted dozens of families, banking on fear. Ethan's story, his crumpled sketch aired on CNN, struck a nerve. Disability advocates rallied. Veterans groups praised Jake. But critics argued he'd gone too far, risking escalation. The DA charged the men with fraud, impersonation, and assault on a minor. Plea deals landed them years behind bars and hefty restitution. 3 days later, Ethan stood, rolled, at a community event, accepting a bravery award. A local artist gifted him a Starforge cape. Jake stayed in the back, dodging the spotlight. When a kid in a wheelchair approached Ethan, saying, "You made us seen," Sarah's eyes welled up. Back home, Ethan taped the cape above his bed. Sarah handed him an envelope, a scholarship to an adaptive martial arts program, funded by an anonymous donor, Jake's old gym, she suspected. Ethan beamed. "I'll fight like Coach Jake." "Better than me," Jake said. A month later, a mural rose at the community center. Ethan sketching, Jake mid-punch, captioned, "Strength guards, never harms." T-shirts sold out, raising thousands for disability programs. The story reshaped Meadowbrook Lane, sparking HOA reforms statewide. People didn't just feel safe, they felt fierce. One night, Sarah and Jake sat on the porch. "Never thought one punch would do this," he said. "It wasn't the punch," she replied. "It was why." Ethan sketched inside, a new hero named Iron Pulse. The stars blinked above a neighborhood no longer naive. When evil came, Meadowbrook didn't flinch. They fought. They filmed. They won. What do you think? Was Jake's punch justice or a step too far? Should communities rely on men like him, or is the system enough? Drop your thoughts below. We're diving into vigilantism and justice next, so let's hear your take.